Hi, I'm Chike Coleman of the Wheelchair Watcher. That's Chuck Kaplinsky of the Illinois Times and the News Gazette. This is Real Reviews of the Cinematic Underground, the show where we talk about movies that are new in theaters, and in this case of today's episode, on Netflix as well.
Take a breath.
Take
a breath.
Take a breath.
Well, I don't think we got a half hour, right?
Yeah.
We're not, slow down.
Yes.
Okay, you're wearing me out just listening to you.
I should breathe. The bronchitis is not helping. So, essentially, this week we're talking about two really wonderful films. And that's just my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know if it's yours.
Mm-hmm.
The first of which is Bridge of Spies, which stars Tom Hanks. I don't know the name of the defendant.
Jack Rylance?
Jack Rylance. And it's a very, very interesting story about the U.S. basically finding and capturing a Soviet spy, or a person that they believe is a spy, and then getting an insurance lawyer, which is Hank's character, to not only defend him, but when Hanks is unable to get an acquittal and a series of events involving some Americans who are captured occurs, they want Hanks to negotiate a trade between the two countries, and this is all taking place during the Cold War, so things are very tense. On the American side of things, Hanks is essentially lambasted and hated by the country because they're saying you're defending a traitor. We know that this guy is a traitor. Why would you take this on?
Mark Rylance. Sorry, English actor.
Mark Rylance. And that, to me, is partly what makes this film so brilliant. The other thing is I love the lack of a score. It really isn't. They leave it all to conversation in this film. The conversations are really the thing that is going to keep the pace moving along in this film for most of its 2-hour run. It's not really the actions of people. It's how they deliver their opinions that makes it such a unique film, in my opinion. I think Hanks has more than one standout scene, at least 3 or 4 that occur throughout the course of the 2 hours. My favorite in particular being when he's confronted by a CIA agent and is taken to, I don't know whether it's drinks or dinner, I believe it's just drinks, and they're asking him to basically just let go of the case. It doesn't matter. And he basically goes into this great monologue about what it means to be an American. And he says the only difference between us and them is that, we were born here. They're still human beings and they still deserve a fair shot. And I think that's what makes this film overall so compelling, is Hank's underlying message of they're still people. We have to treat them as human beings that deserve respect and kindness and fairness. And that's why I enjoyed most of Spielberg's direction of Bridge of Spies. There are very few tense moments in this film that really produce a knee-jerk reaction of surprise or fear. It's mostly in the dialogue that takes place, in my opinion, that makes this film so rewarding. Chuck, what did you think of Bridge of Spies?
I thought it was okay. I'm not falling all over myself on this one like most people seem to be. Obviously, it's Spielberg, it's Hanks. You're going to get some quality no matter what. And I'm sure that Spielberg could direct a compelling film in his sleep by now. And I think Hanks is essential to this film. He's an insurance salesman for crying out, or an insurance lawyer for crying out loud. Yet he gets us on his side immediately. There's the opening scene in which he's discussing an insurance claim against his company, and the way he explains it, you know that he is honest, but also is a good negotiator in making you see his point of view without really manipulating you too much. And I don't think there are very few screen actors of this generation that can give you that vibe, that this is an honest man and he's to be believed. It's not a caricature.
Right.
And I think that's essential to the whole film. We've got to believe that this guy is real, and I do. The problem I had with the film was it had me asking a lot of questions that were unanswered, and it seemed as though we glossed over a lot of important things.
I would agree there.
I felt as though this movie should have been a miniseries, maybe a 2-part miniseries on HBO or something, because there's a lot going on that...
Too much, almost.
Yeah, there's too much going on, where there's one scene and we're done. I don't ever feel as though we get a handle on who this Russian spy is.
Right.
I don't think we ever get to know him.
Right, I agree.
And the guy's got 3 scenes, I think. 3 or 4 scenes. He cracks a joke in each scene, and then he's a blank, and everyone's saying this guy's giving a great performance. I don't see it myself, and I don't think it's his fault. I don't think the script gives him enough scenes in order for us to get to know this guy. Same thing with Hank's wife, Amy Ryan. Again, wasted again. She's got 2 or 3 scenes to be the dutiful wife. She objects once, but come on, give her more.
Yeah.
Also, we find out that the Hanks character appeals this guy's case all the way to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, which I found a bit odd.
Why? That he appealed it, or that it was in the movie?
I'm going to go with both.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, if this is a guy of honor and truth, obviously there were problems with the case. I mean, he says that the evidence was gathered without a search warrant. Look, if he's going to argue this thing all the way to the Supreme Court, I want more than 1-minute scene of him arguing before the Supreme Court. How did he gather more evidence? There must have been another appeal before he got there.
Yeah, there's no investigative scenes of Hanks finding all this
What
stuff.
happened here? I mean, to me, that seems to be an important part of the story. Again, a miniseries would have treated this a little bit more.
I agree.
And then this whole thing which happens, and there's no sense of time in the film.
Yeah,
I mean, it usually
everything just goes. It just moves.
It usually kind of irritates me when a movie says, 1957. 1959. This movie needed that completely, because it makes it seem as though the incident with Francis Gary Powers, the guy who shot down over Russia, happens while this whole trial thing is going on, or very soon after.
Right.
We're talking years apart. I mean, we're talking at least 3 or 4 years apart, these incidents happening. We don't get a handle on who this guy is either. We don't get a handle on who the student is that he's trading for.
That's the other thing. They went from the plain stuff to the student in Berlin
we get one scene
instantaneously, and then they're like, well, you have to negotiate this now because we need these guys back.
We see one scene of the student being captured.
And that's it.
And that's it. I mean, I just wanted more. I didn't hate the film. It's good, but it's not great. It felt to me like a first draft.
Okay.
This is a first draft, and these movies, this stupid YA stuff. We're going to take Hunger Games. We're going to take the final chapter of the split it into 2, and the Harry Potter. We're going to split it into. If anyone has the clout to make a 2-part film that is not some goofy young adult literature thing, it's Spielberg. Throw your weight around. See if you can pull this off. Give me Bridge of Spies Part 1 and Bridge of Spies Part 2. Give me a 4-hour film. See if the audience will go with that. You telling me they won't go with these 2 names? Because I think then you would really do the story justice.
While I agree with you, I think the conversations are compelling enough for it to matter the weight of it being more than just okay.
But aren't they so compelling that you want to have more of those conversations or witness more of them? I mean, that's my argument. Give me more.
I side with your argument, but I also think that the strength of this film is it's not even what's going on, it's just Hanks selling us on it that makes it worthy.
Well, that's what I mean. I think it's good, but more would have made it great.
Right. And I don't disagree there. I just think that Hanks selling us on it, selling us on this man's innocence, even though we really only get one scene of him possibly being, a spy. The thing that happens with the quarter. The thing that happened with the quarter at the very beginning.
It's called the nickel case, actually.
Oh, the nickel case? Okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt the guy was a spy.
Right.
But, he was a human being as well.
Right.
And I think that that's the thing that the Hanks character is trying to point out.
Right. I believe that's Hanks' angle, and I believe that's Spielberg's angle, and I think that's why he takes projects like Bridge of Spies on. Because I feel like in his films, from the ones that I've seen, and I've seen 9 or 10 by this point, he's always looking for the humanity in the main character, or not in the main character, in the supporting character that he can bring out to say, here's how human society should work, here's why it's not working that way, here's what maybe should change about our country or about our society. I think that's what makes him a compelling director. You look at things like Minority Report, he goes back to that, about, guilt isn't always guilt. There could be innocence revolved in there. People could make mistakes. He always goes for the human angle, the humanity angle. And I think that's what makes him such a reliable force of direction when you're looking at feature films these days, because no one else is trying to tell those kinds of stories as deliberately as he is, in my opinion.
What was his? Oh, Lincoln was before this. Okay.
Yeah, Lincoln was before this.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. And there's that old phrase, everyone has their reasons.
Right.
And I think, as you're pointing out, he takes that into consideration with all the characters. We might not agree with them, but we at least try to get an explanation as to, well, this is why I'm doing this.
All right. Well, my review for that film is going to be up tomorrow on the wheelchairwatcher.com. The next film I want to talk about is the latest directorial and writing effort from True Detective director Cary Joji Fukunaga, and that is Beast of No Nations, which is in select cities, but we're talking about it here today because it's also on Netflix, and it stars Idris Elba, and I can't remember the name of the child Ghanaian actor.
I think we're going to know his name pretty well come awards time. But go ahead.
I would completely agree here, and his character's name is Agu. Agu comes from an African village, and they're in the middle of a war. We don't really learn that until about, I would say, almost 20 minutes in. They don't really discuss it until then. You get little bits of background on the family, what the father's like, what the brother's like. He's a musclehead of sorts. And then the war breaks out. And because the war breaks out, something happens to Agu that is not only unfortunate, but deeply, deeply saddening and disturbing on many levels.
Abraham Attah is the young man's name.
Attah is the actor's name, and you will know his name, I'm sure, before award season finishes, because Agu goes through what I like to think of as a trial by fire. Pardon me. He interacts and comes across this group of rebels who he is then forced by Idris Elba's Commandante character to join, and we see how this time within this rebel group ages, matures, and also ruins this character. And it's such a unique, subtle transformation. This is the kind of film that I believe we don't really look at in society because it's just too ugly, too...
Well, and it's so foreign to our experience.
Foreign and dark to our experiences that we can't even possibly fathom that something like this would happen. I feel that this is a stellar directorial effort from Fukunaga. The cinematography is out of this world.
And didn't he shoot it as well?
I believe he did, yes. And man, oh man, the performances by Idris Elba and Abraham Attah are stellar. You really see this child go from being just a child, enjoying his days of just giving his brother crap about girls and about life. And he has this one really hilarious, lighthearted scene where he urinates. Is that what he does? He urinates in his brother's shower, saying, I thought you needed a little, what was it, warmth or cold or something?
Yeah.
And that was hysterical. But every other action once he joins this rebel group is just one distinctly transformative experience after another. And I believe that's what gives this film most of its strength, but I also believe it's in that community, looking at that community of people, how they react to one another, how they react to hostiles, how they react to, repressing memories of the past, because that's what some of the child soldiers do, and how they regress in some cases when they are put in situations when they're looking at villagers, and what is said to Agu when he is first asked to commit his first violent act, and how he responds to that is, to me, the standout moment of the film. If not, what happens once he's, I don't know what kind of place he's in, but essentially a young female villager is being assaulted, and he's angry about something that he has just experienced where he believes he sees his mother, and he ends that person's life. And to me, that is also the darkest moment of the film, because it's not even that he doesn't have remorse. I believe internally he does. He just doesn't know what to do with that emotion anymore. And it makes this film such a very unique viewing experience, regardless of where you're viewing it, because it's so foreign, as you said, to our own social and physical experiences in life. Chuck, what did you think of Beast of No Nation?
The only criticism I have of it is I think it's a little too long.
Okay.
I think it's about 15, 20 minutes too long. But other than that, I mean, the kid is great. And I love once you get these raw actors, usually children who, they don't have those bad habits. And their instincts are much more organic. And the realism of that. I'd love to talk to Idris Elba and wonder what does that do for your performance to see something so unaffected, so natural. That must really be a gift to them then, to be able to react to that. The kid's fantastic, and you mentioned those scenes early on to become more and more heartbreaking as the film goes on, as we see him get further and further away from that and how he changes. We've seen this before, but I don't recall seeing it with a person that young. And I think that's also what makes it so powerful and heartbreaking. Alba, I love that one scene, though, where he's left waiting.
Yeah.
He's a bad guy, don't mess with him. But then we see this whole thing where he's waiting on someone else and kind of takes a little bit of the starch out of him, which was good to see as well. It's not only is the film interesting, but I'm really going to be interested to see how this all develops as far as people seeing it. As you say, this limited release, and then on Netflix, obviously this is an effort for them to get legitimacy with the Oscars and other things. And I'm wondering if they get a couple nominations, if they're going to then release it a bit more widely in theaters. If this is going to be some sort of reverse release pattern than what we're used to.
I would enjoy that if it was true.
Me too. I mean, because that I think shows would really be a testament to the power of the movie. And their faith in it. It is unfortunately one of those unforgettable movies because it is so harrowing. And who knows, perhaps it'll give people some a bit more education about what's going on there, because this is still going on.
I mean, we look at things from a political or socioeconomic spectrum in terms
of isolated spectrum
of what we're so fussed about this new political debate that's going on where we're getting the new president in 2016. I'm looking at the fact that when they wanted to get water from when they're visiting that supreme commander, it's in little bags that you have to suck through. Things of that nature really make me think.
We don't have a clue.
We really don't. It's completely foreign to us. We're surrounded by privilege, and we don't even feel it because this is just what we know. Well, and I think that's the main thing that Fukunaga was trying to address here, is this is just what Agu knows at this time. He doesn't know or feel anything else outside of this spectrum that he's in, and I think that will be the same for U.S. audiences if they choose to view this film.
Well, Dave Letterman used to make the joke, this is why the world hates America. We would speak of something frivolous. And, there's a lot of truth in that. We are clueless. And in our cluelessness, I believe we become arrogant consciously and unconsciously and come off as callous when we don't realize what other people are going through and just how good we have it. No one in this country should complain about anything.
I would agree. I would agree.
We just don't know.
Do you think a film or a series of films can change that? Because you look at Roots in the 70s and Beast of the Southern Wild a little bit, and now Beast of No Nation.
I think it can make small changes. I think that it can activate, whoever happens to see that and feels the need to do that. Can it solve a problem? I wish that were so. I don't think so. But, I think they talk about baby steps. And unfortunately, I think that's how problems like this are solved or are never solved, because only baby steps are taken.
And I think something that I find common with Bridge of Spies and Beasts of No Nation is the conversations, the way things are addressed. You're either seeing it from a visual spectrum or an auditory spectrum in terms of how these characters look at life. And I feel like if there was more transparency within our own government at times, in terms of specific issues that they know the people are passionate on, things might actually change. But I feel as though we are beholden to the idea that the government knows what's best in most circumstances, when in fact I believe if we raised our voices as intelligent as they can be to try and hear some of those conversations and look at things from different distinct angles instead of depending on the 24-hour news cycle, then we would have a much more possibly cohesive and productive society, because we wouldn't be allowing ourselves to be kept in the dark. We would be speaking for ourselves instead. And I think that's what both of these films are trying to do today, in speaking for something that we ourselves as Americans, as privileged people, are unaware of. And that also goes into one of the other things I wanted to talk with you about today, which is the second season of Fargo. Have you had a chance to view that?
Just keep talking, we'll talk.
Okay. So I had a chance to see the first episode of season 2 of Fargo. And I believe it's an improvement in every way, shape, and form on the original first season. None of the actual actors from the first season are back for season 2, as this serves as a prequel to things that happened in season 1, focusing on a character from season 1. And it involves this incident at Sioux Falls, and we're introduced to he's not a sheriff at the time, though. What is he?
Deputy?
He's a member of the state police. He gets called in because
Patrick Wilson.
There's been a mass killing of some sort. And we find out, because we see the killing first and then the police coming after, that there is a member of, I wouldn't even call it the Russian mafia. What is it?
I don't know. I don't know who has settled Minnesota
Well,
and
we'll
the
just call it
Dakotas, but I mean, it's a local mob.
It's
I don't think it's anyone from out of town.
Sort of mob.
Local mob.
That is basically keeping their empire going. And something that happens is that one of the mob members, who is kind of cheated out of all this glory of being in the mob, decides to take it upon himself to invest in, and I'm not kidding here, electric typewriters. As a part of being a part of that business, though, his business partner says, hey, I need you to help get this thing off my rap sheet. So you need to go influence this judge to get this thing off my rap sheet. So the nice guy that he is, this child mobster, which is played by Kieran Culkin, goes to talk to this judge and say, hey, I need you, I'm putting pressure on you to get this thing eradicated so my business partner can do what he needs to do. The judge says, skip you, kid, you're just a small fry, you can't intimidate me, I'm a judge. You got 5 seconds, and she lays a can of what I can only describe as rage on the table, to get the heck out of my sight, because you can't influence me, you can't change me. And he says, look, lady, and then he gets sprayed in the eye with the Raid can, which sets off the massive killing in one of the most brilliant, violent scenes that I've seen on television. Not that it's gory, it's just one catastrophe after another. And then the ball gets rolling from there, because you see other things that are connected within this story. And it's just very well done. I have not seen episodes 2 or 3, but I am excited to Chuck, you saw this, I'm assuming. What did you think of the first episode of Fargo?
I gave up after the first half hour.
Did you really?
I thought it was absolutely ridiculous.
Okay.
Absolutely, positively ridiculous. Talk about a half hour of television that's trying to do way, way too much. This was it. It was jam-packed with stuff. Things weren't making connections to me. Why does this woman have a can of Raid with her in a restaurant? Can you explain this to me? That makes no sense whatsoever. What happens to the Culkin character makes no sense whatsoever.
It's ridiculous.
And can you explain to me why there are flying saucers?
I don't understand that bit. That's the bit I don't understand.
It's like they were throwing just a bunch of stuff in a bag, shaking it up, and rolling it out and seeing what would happen. I didn't find the characters compelling. I thought that it was just, it did not hook me. Actually, I thought it was just so disjointed. And I understand, I know that there are TV series where, yes, the first couple episodes, you have to wait to see how everything falls into place. I get that. But it just seemed to be just so disparate as far as what they were doing and so ridiculous that I gave up after a half hour.
Okay, that's completely understandable.
Sorry.
I liked it a lot, but I don't know what else is going on in the story other than what I've seen in the past.
Can we talk about some good television? We have 2 minutes left.
Okay, go ahead.
The Flash. Hello.
Yeah, that's good, but I do have a couple problems with that.
What?
Because Firestorm's not there anymore.
Oh, but he'll be back. Come on. Firestorm. Well, you can't have a character like him. And did you not see the clip to the next week?
No, I did not.
Well, you just wait.
But I do love Jay Garrick. I do love the fact that the Flash is continuing to learn.
You haven't seen the new episode, have you?
Which one? The one?
The newest one.
Yes, I did.
What happened at the end?
Well, at the end, Harrison Wells came back.
There we go. I mean, if he's coming back, it's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And I love the references to Patty Spivot. All that stuff is great. The thing with
well, the new character, the new cop that's there, the young woman,
that's Patty Spivot.
who Barry obviously is going to have a thing with.
Right.
This thing hasn't missed a step.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it as much as I did the first season.
I believe it's going full speed ahead.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really think that this show is firing on all cylinders, really. And it really can't go wrong. The only thing I had a problem with is Firestorm's death.
Yeah, but he's not dead.
And I love the weight of responsibility that Barry feels throughout the first episode.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's not dead. He's somewhere within the vortex thing. He will be back. And that's the other thing I like about this show. It leaves you with possibilities that you're curious about and makes you want to go back to see how they're going to figure it out, which is something I can't say about Gotham anymore.
Yeah.
I'm 1 foot out the door on that one. Okay. Yeah, I'm about ready to give up on that. We're spinning our wheels there, and I hate the tone of that show.
I'll trade you one show for another. You split on Gotham and go to Quantico, and I'll split on one show and go to another, because I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's not working for me this season.
Okay, here's a show for you. It's called Playing House. It's on, I don't know where it's on, USA.
Okay.
Half-hour comedy show. Frickin' hilarious.
All right. That is what I will check out next
Or
week.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've been meaning to get into that.
Oh! Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Okay, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So that is our show for this week. Next week we'll be looking at Steve Jobs. I don't think I want to touch Jim in the hologram with a 10-foot pole.
I don't know who they're making that movie for.
I don't know either, because they can't use the Hannah Montana connection anymore because Miley Cyrus has been out of the game for way too long. So we'll be looking at Steve Jobs next week.
And maybe Good Night Mommy.
And maybe Good Night Mommy.
A very weird horror film.
Yeah, it looks to be. I've seen the trailer. Oh, one other quick question I wanted to ask before we head out. What did you think of the episode 7 trailer 3?
Didn't watch it.
Didn't watch it.
I want to go in as ignorant as possible.
Okay, fair enough. Until then, we will see you all next week. Bye, guys.